Alright, right now I'm just going to speak about my philosophies on competition fighting. I think Bruce Lee, it's unfortunate that he died at such an early time in his life, and he didn't really get to express the full philosophy of what he wanted to get out there. I think that he was using film as a medium to kind of share to the world about Eastern philosophy and about, just that way of thinking and basically transforming the minds of a lot of Westerners. And I think still a lot of people are unaware of Eastern philosophy and that different way of living. Basically, we kind of live like in Western society, we live in a Yang society, which is basically like just male-dominated, very like aggressive and positive. But then we forgot about the Yin, which is basically like, which is basically the passive side, the less aggressive side, and the calm side. It's kind of like the Yang represents the man, the Yin represents the female, and they got to come together in harmony. And that's kind of what the Yin Yang symbol represents. And you have to bring them both together in order to really find balance and harmony in this world. And I think with the martial arts, it's been heading too much towards the Yang, not enough in the Yin. Okay, so what I want to talk about the competition fighting in particular is, with mixed martial arts and, the UFC and, just pride and, just basically having a competition that's kind of different from like boxing and kickboxing and Thai boxing. Now there's like less and less rules and how they're starting to ground fight now and basically integrate different types of arts all come together as one. I think that's a great thing as far as like learning to experiment with different techniques and knowing to see what works, what doesn't work. I kind of think as far as the physical aspect, that's kind of what Jeet Kune Do was kind of about. As far as the physical is concerned, it's kind of be able to find out what works and what doesn't and scientifically prove what is effective, what's not. So as far as like mixed martial arts is concerned, I think that has taken more of a practical aspect as far as like what's considered like effective in like actual hand-to-hand combat. But at the same token, I think there's limitations to it. Meaning, in competition fighting, there's always going to be rules. Okay, any type of competition fighting, there's always going to be rules, and there are a lot of rules in mixed martial arts as far as not being able to poke him in the eyes, not being able to kick him in the groin area, not being able to scratch, not being able to bite, not being able to hit him in the back of the head. Not be able to do like single, small joint manipulations, no pressure points. The list goes on and on. So, but basically, what I'm trying to say is that that's a limitation as far as like actual combat is concerned. Okay, actual combat is what happens in the street. And you're not fighting for money, you're fighting for your life. So I would say actual combat is somebody where, maybe a few months ago I heard about, this Chicago teenager who was basically in a school and he got jumped by like maybe four kids and he was killed. I think he got hit in the back of the head with some type of object, I think it was a bat or something. And he died. That to me, that's actual combat. That's real combat. That's real life or death. Okay, that's real. Another actual combat is what police officers. When you see those cameras in their cars, they make a traffic stop, and then they talk to the person in the car. All of a sudden, the person pulls out a gun on them, shoots them, and then they die. That's real combat. That's something that you can't really televise and say, hey, I'm better than this person. This is not about who's better, who's not. This is about surviving and living. So that's the thing about competition fighting, is where I see the limitations, is that no matter what, when it comes to competition, that will not be the highest level that a person can get. So what I aim to train people in is being able to train. Competition fighters are great athletes. I don't refute that. Boxers, kickboxers, mixed martial artists, basketball players, soccer players, football players, professional athletes, they are extremely dedicated to what they do, and they take themselves to a really high level. So a lot of these mixed martial artists are really great athletes. But as far as like the martial art and basically taking yourself to the highest level possible, that is not the highest level. That like physically they might be a great high level, but technique wise, that's there. In real fighting, there's no rules. Even weapons are involved. So in real fighting, that is not the highest level. Okay, so basically, you see it in everything. No matter if it's boxing, they can't kick. In kickboxing, they can't use elbows and knees. In Thai boxing, they can't go to the ground. All right, now mixed martial artists, they could go to the ground, but still, there's a lot of rules. You know, you can't kick them in the ground or whatever. I mean, there's always something that's gonna limit. You know what I'm saying? Limit the potential of a great to being like the greatest. So in a real fight, you want to kind of train yourself to be able to not be bound by those rules, but to basically be able to do whatever it takes to survive, no matter if it's you know, even if you have to use some type of object to hit the person, or if you have to carry a small little pocket knife with you to survive a confrontation. And also, in real life, I mean, a lot of times, fights is going to be multiple people coming at you. I mean, you might have a group of people, 5 people chasing after you, and you might have to fight them all off. I mean, you don't see that in any type of competition on screen. Okay? So I think people, they can talk all they want about, oh, you know, Jet Li, Bruce Lee, and Jackie Chan, and Tony Jaa, oh, they're not real fighters, they're not competition fighters. Well, really, what they're representing is more real to what's out there than what is in the competition fightings that you see. Okay? Because meaning, when they have these movies, yeah, it is choreographed fighting, but what they're doing is they're kind of simulating and putting in your mind, this is what could happen, and this is what you can do to survive this type of attack. Okay? And there's weapons involved, there's multiple people involved. I mean, they just put in all these different scenarios to get you prepared. So really, I think that is more of a good training for real combat than what you see in the competition fighting. Okay, competition fighting, you're not going to be having gloves and weight classes. I mean, in real life, there's not going to be gloves and weight classes and all this other stuff where you got to take your shoes off and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, real fighting, I mean, how many times do you go outside without your shoes on? I mean, you're always going to have your shoes on, so shoes come into play. I mean, how many times you be walking around with your shirt off? I mean, and just like a spandex, you know, underwear to fight in the ring. I mean, that's not real fighting. Real fighting, you be wearing a jacket, winter jacket, jeans. You know, you might be at a club and everybody's surrounded by you, and then all of a sudden something kicks off and now you got to fight. And then somebody's got brass knuckles, somebody's got a gun, somebody's got a knife. I mean, that's real combat. And that's kind of what I train people to be prepared for. And that's more about being aware more than knowing how to do an arm bar or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, how many times have you seen somebody put an arm bar on somebody in real life? You know what I mean? It's just, you know, I think it confuses people to think that this is what real fighting is. That's not real fighting. You know, that's still just a fantasy thing. And another thing is, how do you know if these people are even fighting for real? I mean, they could just throw a fight for the money. They say, hey, you know what? If you lose this fight, we'll give you 10 million. But if you win, we'll only give you $1 million. Of course, the person's going to, you know what? I'll lose, and I'll make it seem like I really was trying, but then I'll lose just to get the money. I mean, that's how competition fighting is. That's not real. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that they're not great at what they do, but I'm just saying that is not real combat. That's not like real martial arts. I mean, they could train and get good at certain techniques, but there's always going to be limitations. And I just want, you know, to express that, you know, that's my way of thinking about it, okay? And that's all I have to say because time is up. Take care.